Ain't no sense in going home.
Ain't no sense in going home.
Jody's got your girl and gone.
Jody got your girl.
Through doors like these, 2,709,918 young Americans passed and went off to war. These are my pictures of training, of basic training and advanced individual training. The young men that did this the soldiers that did this were 9.7% of their generation. Of those that served, 47,378 died of hostile action, 10,800 died of non-hostile action, 300,704 were wounded. My brother and I were both of that group that got wounded. 1/3 of those who did serve in Vietnam are alive today. As of 2007, approximately 850,000. Sadly, my brother is not one of the survivors. This will be a quick history of my service. 10/6/1965, I was classified 1A. 12/9/1965, I was ordered to report to Fort Hamilton, New York for induction. At that point, I went through another physical, and I didn't pass. And I was reclassified 1Y because of multiple thyroid operations. My dad and I, in 68, went to the Army recruiting station in Freeport, New York, and spoke to a Sergeant Flabella about enlisting in the Army. I was a bit of a hellraiser, and my dad thought it would either kill me or cure me. Sergeant Flabella asked for a note from my doctor stating my condition was stable. This satisfied the powers that be, and I enlisted for helicopter flight school. On 9/18/68, I reported to Fort Polk, Louisiana for basic combat training. It went well, and from there I was shipped to Fort Walters, Texas for the U.S. Army Primary Helicopter Flight School. This did not go so well. Got in trouble pretty quick for drinking and was thrown out of the school. At that point, I knew I was on my way to Vietnam. I went back to Fort Polk and did advanced individual training for combat. 9 May 69, I reported to Vietnam. Dong Tam, Vietnam was my first stop. Home of the Riverine Force and the 9th Army Division. From there, I was shipped to Rockine, Company A for the 60th Infantry Division. 14 June, I earned an Army Commendation Medal with a V device. 3 July, I earned a Bronze Star with a V device. On 24 July, another Bronze Star with a V device. June 15, 1968, I was supposed to be routine mission with no encounter with an enemy expected. Our first 2 drops into the Delta were uneventful. We were expecting to meet friendly forces in the next village and have lunch. We received a radio call that another platoon had been ambushed. We moved inland and were ambushed ourselves. The middle of the platoon was hit. Being on point, I moved back and took cover next to our medic, Doc, Ron Gardner. We heard several cries for medic, and Doc ran to the calls. We were really receiving extremely heavy fire. Rupp and I put down some cover fire. I had seen Ron do this a number of times. Rupp and I shifted up to better cover Ron. By the time we moved, Ron had been hit. 2 others were hit, Edward Vogt and Frank John Purcell Jr. They had both been on point on the platoon's right flank. Frank and Ron were killed at the initiation of the ambush. Doc Ron Gardner had also been killed. Rupp and I carried Ron back to the helicopter. I closed his eyes and said I would find his mom and dad and tell them his story. 30 years later, I was able to do just that. This was the first time we were severely bloodied as a platoon, I stopped taking pictures that day. 12 September 69, we were moving through villages, I believe to protect the villagers so they could vote. Viet Cong, the North Vietnamese, had emptied the villages and booby-trapped the area. We had 2 serious wounded in the first village from booby traps. I got a piece of shrapnel in my back. Rupp and I were on point. The Sarge let me know I needed to do a better job. I asked about my wound. He said to do a better job, and he'd let me know when I was really wounded. Next, we had 3 serious booby trap wounds. Sarge was on the radio trying to get us out of there. Mission change. Rupp and I were moving slow and carefully. Sarge, being aggravated, came past us. I sent Rupp to stop the platoon. Went to get with the platoon sergeant into an overgrown area of rice paddy dike. While trying to stop Sarge, I stepped on a booby trap. It was a C ration can, C4 explosives, and a pressure detonator. The medic came. I was pretty messed up. Rupp helped get me to the chopper. We said goodbye. My war was over. I came home to a different world. There were no bands, no hurrahs, no recognition, except negative. Fred Krebsbach has written a book about his experiences in Vietnam. I served with Fred. This is him right here. If you have interest in what's going on, buy Fred's book. I'm in it as Anderson. He got me wrong, but he's a good guy. But take a look at his book, and thank you for watching my videos.